Live from the Great Lakes State, welcome race fans one and all to Brooklyn, Michigan, where we get set to go racing for race number 18 in the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series. Welcome to RaceSpotTV. My name is Noah Rempel with Hugo Louise down behind the cameras for tonight's race. We'll be bringing you all the coverage here tonight from start to finish of tonight's 100-lap event. It is heating up in that fight for the points battle. Still so many drivers locked in. Philip, of course, leading the way with 3 wins on the season. It is all eyes on the points gap and, of course, the bottom 16, where you've got yourself just 3 points separating Tom Wetmore from Eric Papineau in that ever-critical race for the playoffs. We are heading into crunch time with only a few weeks left before we get set for playoffs by the end of August. It is no doubt going to be one exciting season up ahead of us. As you can tell, you got, of course, Watkins Glen coming on up just 1 week from now. And then that last critical race, the Daytona International Speedway, to wrap out August. What better way to end out regular season racing than right where it all began, swinging around full circle as we'll reset for the round of 16 coming in at the Darlington Raceway. So that's the schedule for what we've got so far here in this 2023 campaign, and there's still so much that is up to play for here in this one, as we'll turn all eyes down onto the racetrack for qualifying. And this could very well be ourselves an exciting qualifying session as drivers are looking set to try and put themselves up on the top of the boards on a track where the draft is very much everything. Thomas George running his way around the racetrack in that Valvoline number 6 Mustang, hightailing it down to the high banks of turn numbers 3 and 4, working to the front straightaway. Currently sits the provisional pole sitter with a 39.081. 37 thousandths up for Bradley Burke. Pagari will put his way to the top of the boards. What can George do for lap number 2? It is not going to be an improvement. Thomas George will be able to improve on the time, not on the positioning. He'll sit relegated in that number 3 spot. Michael Araya going to be up in the points lead for the qualifying lead for now, but Kevin King hot on his heels, 005 off of the pole time of the 38.898 so far. About the top 4 separated by less than 1/10 of a second with 2 minutes left in qualifying. Grant Davis puts down a 39.108 on his opening lap. What can he do for lap number 2? It'll be a 38.976. Able to improve, and that's going to put him up now 5th quick on the board. So Grant Davis able to punch his ticket further up into the running order as Cody Harris punch his way in to be a bit further down the field of that number 28. Gregory Shaw currently sits 20th fastest. 39.485, trying to see if he can't get himself sort of a bit further up. The clock, though, quickly running him out. He'll cross the Guy Carisar zone back to start finish. Puts down to 38.897. And that will punch him all the way up to provisional pole by 1/1000th of a second ahead of Michael Araya. Gregory Shaw putting in a stormer of a lap of 38.897 to clock things in at the very end. Minazzi Major will put in a 39.059. That'll go 15th quick for the Spotify number 82. 35 seconds left in qualifying with no further drivers on the grid. That just about sets your qualified order. Matt Danson sits way down the field, qualified 24th out of a scheduled 29 starters here in this one. So not ideal for Matt Danson to be finding his way so far down on the running order. He'll pull down to the back straightaway, 1.6 seconds back. I got a feeling sandbagging that lap just so we can try to get himself sorted. Qualifying, though, is going to get itself wrapped on up in just a few seconds here. We'll be able to take a look at what your starting grid is going to look like as we'll get set to go racing for 200 miles and 100 laps around the Michigan International Raceway here in virtual Brooklyn. This is your Get Wet Esports starting grid, where it is going to be Gregory Shaw to take the pole position for Limitless Esports with that 38.897, 1 thou clear of Michael Araya for Flat Out Esports on that front row. Kevin King in the team. He's clocked in a good few wins over the last several weeks. He's going to be starting third with Kyle Trudell for XPM down in fourth. Brett Punkari will be in fifth with Sam Beata for Flat Out Esports to round out the top 3 rows. Bradley Burke and Ross Cato will be on row 4 with Grant Davis and Sean Casto to round out the top 10. Brandon Fetterplace and Michael Johnson are back on row number 6. Row 7 holds Cody Harris along with Thomas George, Benazzi Major, and Eric Papineau going to be on row number 8. Nicholas Mara and Richard Woodruff going to be on row 9. Row 10 to round down the top 20 going to be the likes of Sean Kalis and Richard Wolsifer with Carl Pooler and Steve Tucker on row number 11. Braden Whitaker and Matt Danson will be on row 12, down to the top 24. And Danson was the last driver to put down a qualifying lap. But there you got Landon Mills, Tom Wetmore, William Schmidt, Michael Kuczynski, and Tom Morano, all opting not to put down times on just a 29-car started grid here this week for the Michigan International Speedway. That was your Get Wet Sports starting grid. GetWetSports.com is the world's first digital content library that showcases and celebrates creators of all sizes and backgrounds, including iRacing, military gamers, and women in gaming. Getting listed is free. Find out more today at GetWetSports.com and start on your content creation journey today. So as this field starts to roll off from pit road, you can take a look at the track temps. It is 117 degrees, 78 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, 6 mile an hour of wind, and of course, very dry out there today as well. So overall, as we bring Joshua Mendoza alongside me here in the broadcast booth, Josh, it's a hot track out there, and I have a feeling it could be a slippery one as we get set to kick off these first few laps.
Yeah, it could be very slippery out there. A lot to expect here on just trying to maintain focus for the entire 100 laps that we're running here today. You want to be careful going underneath drivers. We saw it so much during the Cup race here in real life, just how easy the car can slip out from underneath you. Something we'll be keeping our eye on throughout the race.
We'll work our way through turn numbers 3 and 4. Gregory Shaw takes up the race lead, but will it be enough to try to secure himself that race win? I think not. Draft is everything at the Michigan International Speedway, and it's going to be a draft-filled race, and one where drivers might be having to find their teammates to work with if they want to get themselves a successful outing here in Brooklyn. Pace cars down to pit road. Thank you for joining us for more Monday night racing action on RaceSpotTV. Into the Geiger Restart Zone. Green flag is out. We're racing in Brooklyn. As we cross start finish, Shaw leads the first lap to green. You saw Kevin King get a bit out of shape out of turn number 2. Dropped way down to the inside, went for the number 3 spot all the way back to 13th. We're 3 wide though with Ross Cato in the middle in the mid pack, right around in that fight for that 8th position. And look at Brandon Fetterplace with the momentum run on the high side.
Wow, that is incredible to see him be able to make that move on that outside. He's going to be able to carry some speed through here, get around Punkari even further. That's a great run, 3 wide action down that backstretch.
Everybody's still very much bunched up and closely packed together. This is where everything is critical. The tires are just getting up to temperatures, and you're still right in the fray. With everybody else, we're able to single file and back out all the way back to about the 16th spot. From there, Mara tries to make the move on Benazzi Major. But up front, it is all eyes on these flights within the top 10. Gregory Shaw tracking up towards that outside lane. And while you think he might allow for Lariah to get a move on the inside, he's taking great advantages out of some of that progressive banking here in Michigan, and that is what is allowing him so far to maintain that run to the race lead by getting the good drives off of the exits, along with sacrificing some on the entry.
Yeah, you'll notice they'll be running that middle lane. They can't really push up much higher than that. They don't have that artificial sticky substance that they're going to put down on that outside lane. So it's going to be that middle groove. That's probably going to be the preferred one for a little while before they can rubber in that top groove if they ever get to that point.
No PJ1 compound on the racetrack in order to help these guys out, keep that grip up on that high side line, which does really turn Michigan into a sort of give an inch, take a mile type of facility. And it's what allows this race to be so aggressive, especially in the early runs, especially on the strategy department. And it's not just pit strategy, it's also figuring out where you want to execute with the draft, when you want to back something up and try to set yourself up for a winding punch. Because if you can get a run off of one of these corners, there's almost nothing somebody can do to defend against it. Leroy going to look for the inside down to turn 1, and Shaw will give up the race lead. The Sim Speed Shop Chevrolet will go to the point on lap number 5.
Oh, he might be able to do a crossover here if he chooses to. Doesn't, is going to give the bump to the 44 instead.
Looking to save a bit of fuel potentially, you reckon, behind that 44 of Michael Araya. Gregory Shaw in the Crown Royal Chevy will work to the high side. Now, maybe not looking to save a bit of fuel as he tries to get the high side, and that's a chop and a half. Shaw back to the bottom of 3 and 4. He'll take that spot back down the front straightaway while Ross Kyoto goes way onto the apron in the tri-oval. But Shaw back to the point in turn number 1. And Michael Araya will have to try to set up a run for the high side, and he's got the momentum. He's studied what Shaw was doing the first couple laps. He's looking to take that lead right back.
A little side-by-side. Shaw is going to stay about a lane down, prevent that side draft as much as he can. Now he's going to slide up to the 44, do a little bit more, stay on that inside lane, try and go and get the advantage with that inside lane.
Shaw continues to work to the bottom. Lariah up on the top shelf. Shaw tried to clear, but Lariah was up there. And now Lariah looking to pinch down the 66 car all the way down the racetrack to compromise that turn 1 entry that appears to have worked. Lariah poking the nose out in front. By the time they got to the liftoff point, I wanted to say braking point. You don't really brake here. You more just kind of back out of the throttle and then just stamp the pedal down when you think it's right. Lariah will clear down the back straightaway, and Shaw, again, forced to tuck right back in line. All the while, Kyle Trudeau's been sitting quietly in that number 3 spot, just waiting on these guys up in front of the road, I think trying to figure out where there's an opening where he can potentially mount the charge.
That's a great point, Nolan. I was looking at the 7 car, seeing if he was going to be able to close the distance on these 2 front runners. Hasn't quite been able to do it as quick as I thought he might be able to. Shaw got a little loose off of turn number 2, but he's right back at the point trying to make a move on the 44.
And look at the closing rates. And in fact, it's so great that Shaw has to back out as he's caught out by the dirty air. Whoa! Castell bobbling off a turn 2 right beside Trudell to the back straightaway. And that'll cause Trudell to go under fire. That's one of the hazards of a big draft-heavy track like Michigan, though. It's one of those facilities where if you don't make that move, it's going to be made for you. You got to always be on your game here, and if there's an open, you got to take it, because the guys in this field, they're never going to tend to ride around in the same place for very long.
Promote Casto in that 52 machine up to 3rd position. Now he's looking to potentially join this lead battle, as he is quite quick right now on track. 39.04 last time by. That was about 0.2 of a second faster than the leaders.
And you can see just how much this leading pack is building over the rest of this field as well, because they've been, for the most part, single file. First through 10, they're separated by about 1.1 seconds. Then it's a good 0.6 of a second back to Brett Bunkard in no man's land. Then it's another 3 seconds almost back to Carl Pooler and more, because the second pack is the one that's been really keeping up all that side-by-side battle. While everybody else up in the front here, you can tell they've been more organized, and you can tell by the position swap with all the green and red showing up on that timing ticker over on the left sides of the screen. There you see Thomas George as well as Kevin King, both fired to the inside. Meanwhile, but that's Major will go 3 wide up on the high shelf off of turn number 2 to the back straightaway. I think it's very telling about how drag dependent the track is when you realize that even with these guys not working together, look at how much they've lost in just 10 laps.
Yeah, it is wild. I went back and just reviewed to make sure that there wasn't any incidents that we missed that might have caused this sort of separation. No, this is all just a natural separation, maybe a couple of scuffles here and there, but nothing too obvious that says, hey, that should have caused 3 seconds of separation. So pace differential here is quite big between 12th and 11th place.
For reference, a lot of the drivers in the middle of this back are running about 39.5s to 39.8s. The racers at the front of this field have been running 39.2s to 39.4s, which, again, it's very telling when you take a look at those separations, because it's not much on one lap, but it is everything on further laps upwards. Gregory Shaw making that move back for the race lead around the outside of Michael Araya. And this is good to see as well, because these guys are being very strategic in how they fight for the race lead as well. They will actually work together, kind of build up a small gap over the rest of that leading pack, and then they start to battle for the lead. That way they don't come under fire by somebody trying to go for a twofer.
Yeah, there's no sense on battling and giving up 2 positions when you could just be battling for 1 position. So keep that distance between third place. Focus on sorting it out between the 2 of you instead of involving more third parties.
And now the battle is starting to pick up for third on back as John Casso trying to keep Trudell at bay. Grant Davis went to the inside of the 7, and Trudell going to get cut off by Sean Casso up the road. Here comes Sammy Etta with a charge to the high side. Bradley Burke, Ross Cato, and Richard Wilson are also in the fray, all side by side in the run down towards turn number 1. They got so single file out for a moment that allows them to close about a quarter second on the top 2 down that front straight. For the guys further down the field like Wolsifer and Cato, they're not focusing so much on those top 2. They're only focusing on each other right about now.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. They're just trying to figure out how to get forward 1 step at a time, and Cato seems to slip backwards, just has a bad backstretch, loses a couple of positions right there. Now is the caboose of this 11-car train.
Shaw, Laraya, Casto still the top 3. Trudell, though, trying to poke his hat into the rain to make that move for the final podium position. Michael Araya also looking for the bottom of Gregory Shaw. Shaw tried to come down and cover, but look at how much time was lost as a result of that bobble. Here comes Casto with a huge shot back bumper, and the caution flag is out as we've got a spinner on the back straightaway down the inside. Looked to potentially be Sean Kalis, and that will put us under yellow flag number 1 on lap 14.
That is one of those weird cautions. I imagine we'll see something kind of awkward here as we'll get a replay it in due time here. Just how these kind of weird wrecks can happen here at Michigan.
Nobody with a whole lot of damage I'm seeing, so this should be a fairly cut and dry situation. You just come down, get your tires, and get back out into the race course. You see everybody catching up to the Iverson pace car down on the backstretch. Well, we made it a good distance there for the first green flag stint. We made it to about lap 14. It's further than I thought we would have made it at a few points where it started to get a bit hairy with all that 3 wide we saw going on in the first 5 laps or so. And the fact that a lot of the other Michigan races I've seen this week, they haven't made it to lap 5 without having their first yellow flag of the evening. So RSR, once again, cream of the crop as we'll work our way through. And I'm expecting to see yellow flag pit stops getting underway in a few seconds here. We'll take a look at the replay. You see up on the top, oh, Pooler bobble for the top shelf, and Kalis was just an innocent bystander. Good save, though.
Interesting. Kalis claimed that caution there, so maybe there was maybe he felt he had something to do with that there. Interesting.
What's also interesting is the pit strategies here as a good chunk of drivers stay out. Shaw, Laraya, Trudell, Nieto, and Pooler all stay on the racetrack. Everybody else is down and into pit road for service, expected for the most part 4 tires and fuel. As we continue to just kind of let things cycle their way on through. Not seeing anybody. Well, we got Landon Mills going for a fuel-only stop, only in the box for 6.5 seconds. Same for Maddox, as he was only 7.4 in the box. It seems very split so far. For the most part, drivers are going for 4 tires and fuel, but most notably, Mills, Tucker, Maddox, those are the 3 names so far that have not opted to take tires at all, whereas Tom Morano has only taken 2 tires.
That's interesting. 2 tires. Curious. We'll keep an eye on that, see what happens there. No tire calls. I mean, at least your tires are all on a similar wear pattern or a heat cycle, but 2 tires add some weird instabilities when your car is just got freshies on the right, very used up tires on the left-hand side versus 4. I mean, 4's new tires, so 4's are great. We love Ford new tires.
Michael Johnson, it is worth noting, went into his pit box, got all 4 tires, but then left the car. So Michael Johnson, I believe, having some sort of technical failure that is going to see him potentially become our first retirement of the race here in a couple of seconds here, as you have the top 6 that all decided not to take tires. Mills and Bunkar, well, they didn't pit at all, actually. Mills Bunkar are back into pit road for a second round of stops, as is Tom Wetmore. Potential damage repairs, that or they're looking to top a bit more fuel as well. But this restart's going to be interesting here. I have a feeling Shaw's not going to hang on to this lead for too long here with a whole pack of 4 fresh Goodyears right behind him.
It'll be a difficult challenge, but we do have 4 tires on over the wall. Maybe that's a strategy, saying, hey, I want to save as many tires as I can in case we start to have a yellow heavy second half of this race, so you can come down and take tires every caution if you want.
Gregory Shaw takes the outside lane for the restart here on this one. So Shaw will be able to take himself back around with the outside lane this time, as opposed to restarting on the inside. A lot of drivers prefer the outside at Michigan, with how much you have to take that wide sweeping arc into these corners in order to get a good run, especially on the restarts. Starting on the outside is actually more beneficial at tracks like this because it prevents you from having to make that sudden adjustment from start-finish up to the outside wall, which does scrub off that little bit of speed, which can be critical on restarts such as this one. The pace car, meanwhile, will pull back down and into pit road. Michael Johnson has managed to get his internet issues resorted. He will rejoin this field, I believe, 1 lap down. Green flag is back in the air. And an immediate launch right out of the gate for Shaw. Araya comes up to cover off Nieto for a second as we hightail it down to turn numbers 1 and 2. It's a good getaway from the top 5, but they're the ones that have been able to anticipate this the most. Meanwhile, you got a lot of cars sliding around, as we even saw Casto dip 2 wheels onto the apron. He's able to gather it up, though, and we'll keep this race underway. But now we see the 4 tires coming to play. Richard Wolson for our fresh Goodyears trying to fire one around the outside of 3 wide.
Well, we'll see if he can make it stick. Looks like he's going to. Very, very quick right now on those fresh tires. We'll see how far he's going to be able to go, if there's going to be any equalization before he gets to the lead.
To the inside is Grant Davis on a huge head of steam as well. 3 wide all throughout this leading pack here. It's getting a bit tight. Davis has punched his ticket up to 3rd, and now he's going to have to help out Laraya to get around Gregory Shaw, where he himself can go for that position, coming around in turn numbers 3 and 4. So Davis now runs 3rd, and he's got Richard Wolsifer coming up behind him with a head of steam. Wolsifer not looking to make friends anywhere. He's going to go to the bottom, or 3 wide for 2nd, make that now 3 wide for the lead.
Oh my goodness, is they're going to go 3 wide into the corner, or are they going to get it sorted beforehand? It looks like they're going to go 3 wide. We'll see if they can make it stick. Wolfenstein's falling back. Oh no, he's able to keep it stuck on that bottom lane with those 4 fresh tires.
Oh, contact between Laraya and Shaw. Muscles Shaw up the track towards the outside wall. Somehow that doesn't end in complete disaster. The 66 powers around the top, shoved by Kyle Trudell. Back to the bottom lane. Laraya trying to maintain 2nd. Here comes Grant Davis. Huge head of steam down from the inside line. Davis clears all 3 of them, and he'll track up and take the race lead for the first time all night long. Meanwhile, we are 4 wide, deeper in the field, along with Ross Cato right in the 3rd lane as he is powering through. Ross Cato just made up 6 spots in 1 straightaway.
This is absolutely insane. It feels like we're at Daytona or Talladega, but no, we're at Michigan. This is such a wild race right now. 4 or 5 wide. We got 1 in the outside wall. It's 71. He's going to keep it going forward, but that's going to stack up the field behind them.
All looking steady. They all will file to the inside, and this pack remains a good 20 cars strong. It's getting intense in the cars. You can see everything that Ross Cato's having to deal with up the road. Near miss there between Michael O'Brien and Richard Wolsenberg. Cato looks to the outside, breathing that sigh of relief as we're going to double it back out down the front straightaway. But holy smokes, You want to talk about some aggression in the mid-pack with drivers on fresh rubber trying to cycle through. They're desperate to get through before this track burns the rubber off of those right sides. Matt Danson among those drivers working to the inside of the 44.
Yeah, right now he's working to try and get that, I believe, 6th or 8th position right now. He's going to be able to make up a lot of ground. Danson able to get around, but we got a side-by-side battle for the lead right now.
Grant Davis now on the high side. Sean Casto in the velocity of the Camaro down on the bottom. No help though for Casto. Bradley Burke to get wet towards Chevy, going to work to the high side to push Grant Davis clear down to turn number 1. Behind all of them, how about Kevin King? Started this race in 3rd, fell way down the field early after he got loose on lap 1, was relegated to running in that second pack down in 19th. Now he's right back into the mix and fighting for top 5 spots. As again, Burke giving Davis the shove he needs to stay clear for this lead down the backstretch into 3.
Oh man, making that inside line work is so difficult. It's so hard to get a good run off of corner exit. Kevin King last time by got side drafted by Casto. That unfortunately dropped him back even further, and he can't seem to get that run off of corner exits. They go 4 wide into turn number 1. They get it settled down to 3, back to 4.
Wouldn't be a race without a Matt Danson move like that. 4 wide again. Cato trapped in the middle, and Danson clips the back bumper of Kevin King. They're able to keep it out of each other. Bradley Burke will falter from 2nd and fall to 3rd, potentially 4th. Casto will move to the outside and go to 2nd. Davis continues to make clear for the lead, and Danson still trying to go on that lone crusade on the bottom. 4 wide again in the background, and now with a bit more contact, Cody Harris gets banged around. He's going to, again, get himself sorted, though. Credit to this field. They're doing a phenomenal job on keeping this race green while giving us all the excitement that we expect to see from a pack race at Michigan.
I'm curious to see if Cato's going to be able to carry the run on the outside. It looks like he's going to. He is really quick on that outside lane. Currently outside the 24, gets by him, and now is trying to make that run and can carry his momentum into turns 3 and 4. Cato looking to go towards the front.
Ross Cato is powering towards the front end of this field. Working to the bottom is Landon Mills. Bradley Burke is also in the fray. Here we go. Now we start to see all this aggression start to pick up. Matt Danson will bobble up from that front straightaway line. He'll work his way down to 3rd. Kevin King working from the outside of Sean Casto. If he can get clear out of turn 2, we could very well see that 29 car, run away with the race lead here from Brooklyn. Casto won't fight it too hard. He'll tuck back in line. Meanwhile, up the road, Michael Johnson begging for a caution to get him back onto the lead lap.
He is going to go in the way of the leaders right now. Hopefully that doesn't cause a caution, but that is something to keep in mind. Is anyone going to try and do a pick maneuver and try and force a pass by putting an outside car or an inside car into that lap car?
Sean Casto working to the outside. Matt Danson runs in the 3rd, still looking for the bottom lane. I think Casto might have burned all his stuff up, though. You can tell he's starting to drop back. Something fierce here as it stands. Runs 4th. Bradley Burke 5th. Kevin King again in the fight for the lead, getting around Michael Johnson. The lap car, 2nd one in line now. On board with Cody Harris. He runs pretty much right at the tail end of this whole mess, and it is still a gaggle of cars up the road as we hit lap 28.
Michael Johnson is battling for the lead lap. Not the lead, but the lead lap, and that is causing all sorts of problems for Kevin King and giving Danson every opportunity to potentially make a pass. As they almost make contact, Michael Johnson gets close to the leader. Not going to have any issues here, but that moves Danson into the picture.
I imagine that Kevin King not going to be terribly happy about that one. The leaders seldom are when lap traffic gets in the way like this. Now Danson trying to find his way through. Now the key difference between King and Danson has shown no qualms on shoving you out of the way if you get in his way. And now he's going to side trap Michael Johnson, trying to trap him on the high side. Landon Mills trying to execute a sneak attack on the bottom, while Kevin King will push Danson clear, as Danson will lead his first laps of the night.
Johnson trying to be the cork in the champagne bottle, but that champagne bottle is getting shaken up too much. Got to be careful here. He could cause a big one if he's not careful.
I've got to be honest, this is one of the best Michigan races I've had so far all week long from all the series that I've seen racing here. at this amazing facility. And this is exactly why this remains one of my favorite tracks on the NASCAR calendar. And all the reasons why I love this place right now are the exact same reasons why just when everybody else in this field absolutely hates this place. And it is so fantastic, the quality of race that we've been getting here so far. I think Danton has finally put Michael Johnson officially a lap down. Kevin King going to make that a fight that's not worth having now for Johnson, as he'll try to track through and put Johnson behind the second place runner. I think once that second car goes through there, Josh, that's about it for your hopes of trying to get that lead lap back.
I would completely agree with you there, Nolan, but I feel like Johnson is not going to give up so easily. He has not shown any resilience or give up in his drive right now, as he's going to continue to push Kevin King out to the lead. I think Johnson wants to be a part of this. He wants to be part of the picture no matter what.
Well, he is certainly doing a good job. If that is his goal thus far. And now he's going to help Kevin King to start to build up a gap and fight for that lead lap right back again. A bit further behind, Bradley Burke trying to work with, trying to work against Sean Castle and making that look for the final podium position, as a few drivers now are starting to drop back and out from this pack. It has fallen from about 20 strong back to about 15. So we've lost 5. They've kind of fallen back to the second train. That includes Kalis, Lariah, Woodruff, Punkari, and Whitaker. Notably, a couple of those drivers, ones that did not come down under that first cycle of pit stops under caution to take tires. And now we're starting to see some more separation with all this fighting going on here, as a Bob over Berg will send a 3 wide. Mills tracks onto the bottom lane of the Battle Beaver Chevy to kind of escape the carnage.
Oh man, we'll see if Mills is able to make up any time. He had a bit of a bobble there, but he's got some speed. Going up from 6th, working on 5th right now. We see right here that battle on the outside. That looks like that's Ross Cato. Able to get just lined up behind him, not able to go there this time.
Grant Davis fighting it out with Tom Wetmore in the battle for the number 8 spot, sitting right between Thomas George and Benazzi Major. Davis going to lose out to the Two-Tech Chevrolet, and now Major trying to throw his hat back into the ring, but Grant Davis looking to work to the bottom side, trying to find some gap where he can get in, because he realizes with nobody wanting to work on him, he's going to lose a handful of spots here on the straight. The problem is, there's no gap for him to look for. There was one between Schmidt and Major, but not one big enough that he could have realistically slotted in there without clipping himself across the front bumper of the 79.
Now, it's kind of important to note why Michael Johnson is racing so hard. He didn't get a lap down based on damage or anything else or a mistake. He's down a lap right now because he actually dropped out of the server for a little bit, was able to rejoin in the middle of the race, get back going before the green flag happened, but just trying as hard as he feels like he has the speed and the competition to make that happen. And I guess you could say this is great training for if he ever wants to race for the lead. He knows how to race up there.
Well, I think he's proven as well he has the pace to fight these guys with lead as well. If he were on the lead lap, the rolling problem is he's not. So none of what he's doing here is actually getting him any kind of positions. It's just inconveniencing everybody else around him. And Matt Danson, I think he's willing to work with Johnson for now because he sees him as a way he can use him as a pick to try to work his way up to Kevin King with that draft. But mark my words, Danson's going to ditch that 39 the first chance he gets.
Oh, absolutely. That is super inconvenient. You have so many opportunities to get a lap back that doesn't require racing the leaders that I think, realistically speaking, you're only upsetting your competitors by doing this kind of thing. But Johnson can do it if he wants. It's racing. You know, you can do what you want as long as you're not causing major issues out there. And I wouldn't classify racing people hard as causing major issues.
Well, and in oval racing, if you ask me, if you want to go out and try to race to get your lap back, you're free to do so. It's not like road racing, right, where you have to, obey the blue flags. Blue flags in oval racing, they're always more of a suggestion than they are an actual command flag, as we see so many times in other FIA-sanctioned series over in Europe. But you can see Johnson, again, looking to get that lap back. And this doesn't put him on the lead lap. It's very important, I think, to note that. This isn't to put him back onto the lead lap. This is to put him in a position where if a caution does come out, he could get himself back into the lead lap. But right now, he wouldn't do that because Gregory Shaw just came down a pit, which puts Shaw as the default Lucky Dog driver now.
That makes perfect sense now why Johnson's racing as hard as he is. Currently 2 laps down, trying to get back to 1 lap down. Getting back from 1 lap is a lot easier than getting back from 2 lap because typically that Lucky Dog is issued to the first driver any laps down, and that first driver is typically 1 lap down. And as it stands, it's a great point, Nolan. He is racing for his life. So suddenly this picture became a lot more clear for me. Johnson needs to be racing for laps back right now, and Kevin King sees his pace, and all he wants to do is make sure that he can't get him back because he doesn't want to deal with another competitor up there for the race win.
Well, I would say, though, that at the moment, Johnson's got other problems in regards to that because, again, Shaw pitted just a little while ago. So now Shaw is the first car 1 lap down, and he's on the opposite end of the racetrack that all of these guys are on. So Johnson would have to catch up and overtake Shaw first before he would even be in a Lucky Dog spot. So I don't think he's going to be getting that hope back anytime soon. This would, again, just be to put himself 1 lap down so he could potentially be in line for when the next caution roll around. He would have to get 2 then.
Yeah.
For that to be a reality, which it's all the much more harder when you get to a lead where sometimes yellow flags can be hard-pressed to come by.
Absolutely. That's a good point. I mean, in reality, that's a fair and valid as we see one get kind of loose right now. Well, I got a little bit sketched down the back stretch, but yeah, no, I totally understand that. He has to race for everything he can get right now. Get a lap back the hard way and just hope for another one through another caution potentially later. That's a very valid point, Nolan.
It's worth noting as well that so far, this big battle pack we've been watching in this entire green flag run, it is pretty much the only battle pack we have. We've got about a 6-car gaggle from Punkari back to Trudell, but they've been running single file for a while. Everybody else is in no man's land, running by themselves. This is the only actual, I think, real battle pack we've been having for a while on the racetrack, and it is only getting tighter as this field goes along, as moves get more and more desperate. Drivers are trying to find their way through. They're trying to secure these spots more and more as the tires fall away. It's what makes for some more of those sketchy moments of where we saw Kato sliding down onto the back straightaway, almost to the infield. As Bradley Burke getting caught up. You'll see him tumbling down a few spots on the timing order now.
That got real loose and real sketch off of corner exit of turn number 4 there. Just probably too much throttle on exit. Might have gotten a little loose, maybe a little help from Arrow, but that was something that was very, very nerve-wracking. Fortunately, they were able to get it through, but he's going to fall further and further back, looking at about 13th position right now.
So as it stands, King leads from Mills, from Castle, from Hansen, from George. That's the top 5. We're looking at Grant Davis as he's trying to work his way back into the top 10 after he had found himself leading a good chunk of the race early on, but burned all of his stuff up early on. And now, Wanso just trying to fight his way back into these crucial top 10 positions. I don't think Davis, though, has too much that he has to worry about. He's had himself a fairly solid season as it is. No race wins yet for Davis, but he is running 6th place overall in the points. He's got a top 5. He's got 6 top 10s. He is over 100 points clear of that playoff cut line. So it's not like he would have to fight too hard to maintain that points gap entering these last 2 races at the Glen and, of course, the World Center of Racing. But it's something that you always want to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Get a good position. Don't fight too hard for a win if you don't have to, but know when it's time to go to keep yourself from losing too much as well.
Yeah, you got to focus on the big picture here. You can't get caught up in the weeds, especially when you're trying to focus on something as big as what you're trying to get done here. And if you get caught up focusing on just the weeds, that's when you start making mistakes. That's when you start doing Hail Marys that just don't matter in the long run. So you got to focus. I remember talking to a couple of people who ran the Road to Pro Series, and one of the things they always said is base hits, not home runs. That's what gets you into big places. So focus on those base hits, and you'll do okay.
Wide down the front stretch. Davis trying to take 2 for 2 down at the bottom, but Cody Harris working that middle line. The very inside has not yielded many results for a lot of drivers. You'll see just how quickly Davis drops back from that. He'll, in fact, go further back than when he started. Went from trying to make a move for 9th with 3 on the bottom to now being shoved all the way back to 13th where he started at 11th because of how much time was lost. Running that line way down by the apron. Even on fresh rubber, though, running the apron like that in these corners has never really been the strategy. You've always got to be like one seam up at least to carry any kind of meaningful speed off of these corners.
Yeah, there's that inside lane just doesn't get off any corner run. You got to be careful racing down there. Oh man, Landon Mills and Michael Johnson make contact off of corner exit. That's definitely not going to make Mills happy.
Mills critically clear though for second, but not before Kevin King walked out a half a second lead over the rest of this battle pack. And now Thomas George has to try to find his head in the ring as Sean Casto will get into the outside wall. The field scrambles. Way down to the bottom was Ross Cato. He'll be helped by William Schmidt. Matt Danson had to check up as well. He'll come under fire for 4th as we work our way back to turns 1 and 2. Schmidt looking for the high lane. Ross Cato still working the bottom. A bit of bobbling going on there for that number 12. So we are about coming to 4 laps to halfway this next time by. This race has just been flying past us.
I was just thinking that it's already lap 46. It feels like we just threw the green flag out here. This is incredible. We've been seeing so much side-by-side action. I'm actually kind of shocked how single file that this battle pack has gotten into. I feel like that's maybe a false sense of security. I feel like we're going to see a couple more intense battles here for a little bit.
That one, Minati Major, Cody Harris, Tom Wetmore, Schmidt, Casto. Those are really kind of the big groupings right now that are looking to go side by side. Everybody else, for the most part, just being very civilized, taking a single file and just kind of giving a little, taking a little. As we will work our way back around 3 to halfway, and this field, you mentioned rightly, starting to get a bit more spread out as time goes along. I'm almost guaranteeing you this is the tire wear that we're starting to see. We're starting to see the drivers that did a better job on saving the tires in the early run, pushing the way to the front. You got a lot of big hitters like Grant Davis, Bradley Burke that were fighting for the lead at one point that are now relegated to spots outside of the top 10, where others that were in those positions like Landon Mills, Thomas George, and so on, they're now right up there. And Kevin King has lost that half-second gap within the last 2 or 3 laps here.
Yeah, and there's another driver I'm kind of watching working their way through this field. It's Gregory Shaw. 1 lap down currently, but he is making moves. And that is the best thing that I think Michael Johnson could have even asked for, was being able to see Shaw potentially get a lap back. There's a timing here that I think Johnson would hope for a yellow that could potentially work in his favor very, very well.
Rounding lap 49, Kevin King's gap has fallen to about 1/10 and a half, and it is continuing to close. One thing that's saving it right now is the dirty air that these cars have thrown up in turns 1 and 3. It's making a bit of a wall for this field behind them. It's really impossible for them to break through. Gregory Shaw back into the fray. 1 lap down. He's the one trying to go to get his lap back as he's tracking his way now up into the top groupings.
Yeah, Shaw's very quick. 40 seconds that last time, 40.1. That is nearly a 3/10 of 4/10 of a second faster than everyone else up here. He is doing everything he can to try and get his lap back before that car that is off in the distance is. Oh, we got Sean Casto almost loses off of corner exit.
Casto getting a big time loose. That was all arrow push as well for the side of Shaw. Casto going to work play to the high side to try to build that momentum back up. Good save from Casto. He'll lose a few spots. It's better than nothing, though. Carl Pooler will pull down into pit road, and with that, we are 50 down, 50 to go. So let's take a run top to bottom. This is your iRacing midway race break. Kevin King leads the way as it stands. Landon Mills runs in the number 2 spot. Thomas George, Matt Danson round out what is becoming a sort of separate mini pack within the bigger pack. You got William Schmidt running in that 5th spot as it stands, trying to overtake Danson for 4th. Ross Cato sitting in 6th. Tom Wetmore will be in 7th with Bradley Burke in 8th. Cody Harris is going to be in 9th with Sean Cassidy round of the top 10. Minati Major runs in 11th as it stands. Grant Davis is in 12th. Nicholas Mart is 13th. Eric Papino down at 14th in a battle with Brett Punkari for that number 14 spot. Brady Whitaker is in 16th spot with Richard Woodruff in 17th. Richard Wolsifer is in 18th. Sam Mieto's down in 19th. Lariah hitting pit road this time by with Sean Kalis in 20th, 21st. Better Place Murano also hitting pit road, will go down to 22nd and 23rd with Steve Tucker overtaking the lot of them. At the moment, Michael Kaczynski going to be the first driver to be leading the way here. Well, he's the last one with the lead lap, I should say. That is currently on the racetrack. Gregory Shaw sits one lap down, fighting his way through lead lap traffic. Kyle Trudell is also one down. Pooler and Johnson both 2 laps down. So that's a look top to bottom from your field here from the Michigan International Speedway at halfway. And it's looking here, Josh, we're about to see some green flag pit stops kicking off here before too long.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm impressed you went through that whole rundown in the middle of a green flag pit cycle. We had a couple throwing a wrench in your whole rundown there. That was impressive to watch you go through all of that, but we should see several of these drivers. I think for the most part, the ones that have come down pit road are the ones who stayed out back on lap 15 or so. So these drivers could choose to go a little bit longer if they wanted to, but that's something we'll definitely keep an eye on.
Well, you know, it helps when they're all at the back anyway, and they're trying to come down in one big group in a nice orderly line that keeps things nice and easy. This was Talladega on a green flag pit run with that. Oh, forget it, it's not happening. Well, we're past halfway, and we've seen a few drivers come down to the lane as of late. Again, notably the ones that have come down have been Sam Mieto. I know we've seen Michael O'Brien, Kyle Trudell, Sean Kalis, Michael Kaczynski in Fetter Place, along with Morano, all in the pit road. Car Pooler came in about 6 laps ago now. Got 20 cars that stands on the lead lap. That's about to be 21 as Gregory Shaw has caught Kevin King. He'll get around the number 29 and retake the lead lap. That's great news, particularly for Michael. Well, I was going to say it would be good news for Michael Johnson if he didn't now have 7 more cars just pitted in front of him that are all 1 lap down and he's still 2.
Well, now that's 1 less caution, Nolan. He only needs 6 cautions now to potentially get a lap back.
If we get 6 cautions in the next 45 laps, I'm going to be concerned.
We can play some on-air games or something like that while we sit under caution during that.
Well, you're going to be busy. I won't have anybody to play games with.
Very fair, very fair.
So King and Mills are the 2 that lead the way, and at the moment, what a lot of this pack is having to struggle with is the fact that a lot of guys that just pitted are fighting their way through on the fresh tires, throwing wrenches into the battles. The battle on screen is not one of them. Every car in here is for position. Castro and Nicholas Mara side by side for the last spot inside the top 10. Davis and Major is side by side for 12 and 13, and they've been dropping back considerably for the last little while, as Venanzi Major almost put the outside wall that time by Greg Davis. But Mara continued his good charge, and I think they're just kind of biding their time as it stands waiting for the good stop run to come about.
Yeah, there's a couple of drivers really fighting their cars right now. One of them was Matt Danson off of the exit of turn number 2. He got super duper loose, lost a couple of positions, but I think those tires are really starting to scream for mercy as they have been going non-stop for about 40-ish laps on these set of tires. I'm sure they're wanting any bit of mercy that they could get. Potentially, we'll see pit stops maybe sooner rather than later, Nolan.
I think we're going to be seeing them a bit later for everybody else in this field personally. Because remember, they did pit on lap 15, so they don't really have much need to pit in just 30 laps later. You can go over half the race on 1 tank of fuel. Critically, a lot of the guys we've seen that have just pitted, they were ones that took fuel only, or only 2 tires, or didn't pit at all over the last, the initial green flag run. As I say that, though, Sean Castro will hit pit road in the Velocity Camaro, so he'll be the first driver from this leading pack to actually bail out and cycle back through to the lane. Nicholas Mara, meanwhile, leaning on the door of Tom Wetmore around through turns 1 and 2 for what is now 9th.
That was very close. And Wetmore is not satisfied with Mara. Mara apologizes, but that was very close racing for that package as we see another driver in the Spotify machine join in to this battle.
And look at Michael O'Brien firing his way through. That is the difference from fresh tires to old. It is a staggering difference as they just blitz by them like they're standing still. So Lariah and Trudell are going to be looking to cycle through potentially in towards the top 5 by the end of this pit stop cycle. but I don't think they're going to stay there for long because everybody else, the later you pit, the more of an advantage you will have over the entire rest of this race, just due to having fresher tires than everybody else in the field.
Yeah, but you could try the undercut strategy and hope that you're able to make up time. I mean, we're looking at lap times that are nearly 6/10 off, 5/10 off of fresh tires. There is a potential for an undercut as Grant Davis makes contact with, when I say Major, is he was trying to come down pit road, and that was a close one.
Yeah, Major going to be hitting pit road, and he's not the only one that's coming in, as well as Richard Dwarf is going to be down in this time through as well. It's a very slow trickle. It's not uncommon at some of the bigger tracks sometimes see a bigger trickle. You would have maybe expected at a draft-heavy track, though we would have seen a couple of guys just coming down as big, large packs. But when you have such a differing run of pit strategies, courtesy of that one yellow flag that really threw a wrench in the works, it creates for a bit of a much more lengthy pit stop window. Ross Cato hits pit road this time by.
Yeah, he got really loose off of turn number 2. I wonder if that made the decision for him. But he got down to pit road, no issues right there. A couple of drivers locking up on pit entry, but no black flags yet.
It's that fine line of figuring just how much can you get away with. Because you can go a couple of miles an hour over on the pit entry, provided you slow it down to pit speed fast enough. So it's almost an art on figuring out just how much you're able to take before Iverson slaps you with the black flag. And that's why a lot of racers at the top level will tell you it is just as critical to practice your pit road than it is the actual track itself, especially considering you don't go on a pit road a whole lot. So that's what makes it even more crucial that you get it exactly right. In fact, for me personally, whenever I'm in qualifying for a race, I usually will spend, once the checker flag falls, that extra couple minutes to practice getting in and out of pit road. You may as well. You're not being scored at all. You're not going to get any penalties or anything if you get something wrong.
It's the right time to do it. Green flag pit cycles are the places where races go to die. I can tell you, I've watched it so many times. People who have not practiced those pit road entries, their races just end right there on pit entry. A black flags, making a mistake. As we see several cars come down to pit road. That includes our leader, Kevin King.
Kevin King and Landon Mills, the top two, both going to be down and into the lane for service. Tom Wetmore, you see fading in directly behind, as is Braden Whitaker. So that's a pack of 4 now that are all going to be down and into the lane. So again, fairly sorted, it's looking like. No real pit stop dramas as of right now. It's been about as by the book as it could have possibly been so far here in this race, and that has split a lot of the battles up in this leading pack here big time. And we're not going to be seeing really what these pit stops are going to do until that last car comes down into the lane. Speaking of which, we've got more.
Got a couple more takers right here. We'll see who they are. Thomas George is one of them. Cody Harris, it looks like, potentially behind him.
William Schmidt kind of hiding in the background as well behind that red and silver Chevrolet. He'll pull down and into his stall after qualifying. Well, not even qualifying, just starting back in 27th after he was one of 5 that opted not to qualify. So that's another trio that is down and into the lane.
There's one real hodgepodge of cars on tracks right now, figuring out where everyone's going to blend back together, who's going to be in the lead, who isn't. This is going to be something we'll keep there, but right now, as it stands, I think potentially cycle out. We'll see. I think Kevin King should cycle out, maybe Sean Casto to the leader.
Remember, we were mentioning earlier about what the fact of Loride and others putting in earlier might do, how they'd be up in the top 5. Well, lo and behold, they're running behind what I believe are now the net P2 runners, Kevin King and Landon Mills. So Mariah Trudell, right up the back bumpers of what used to be the top 2, but critically, they're on older tires now, so they're only going to be dropping further back as time goes along. Meanwhile, Matt Danson trying to see what he can do, if he can get some strategy sorted for himself as well. He is now the overall leader of this race, so certainly not the net race leader. Bradley Berg, Grant Davis, Nicholas Mara, Brett Poncari, all down into pit road at the same time. Steve Tucker already into his box. He's a lap down, though, and he will be remaining at least 1 lap down by the time this pit cycle ends.
Yeah, curious to see right now. Looks like Kevin King and Casto are fighting for position. I think Casto's come down pit road already. He's out in front of Kevin King. He may cycle out to the leader as it stands. We'll see as We'll go by right now when that'll happen, as Matt Danson's the only one who has not come down pit road at this point in time. But this is a battle for the cycle lead, I think.
You are correct. Sean Casso did pit about 10 laps ago, and now we can see Kevin King trying to work to the inside. He has got 5 lap pressure tires, and he's going to make full advantage of them here onto the back straightaway, as Matt Danson will be hitting pit road. He was the last driver we were waiting on to come down to the lane. King working to the bottom. This is the fight now for that race lead, as Casto will take this one around the outside. He'll fall to second. Kevin King back to the point.
You know, Nolan, I want to point out that Casto was the one who came down pit road right after you made your point of you think people are going to go a little bit longer. And he is executing that undercut strategy. He came down from 10th place up to 2nd right now. We'll see how this kind of cycles out over the course of the run, where he ends up pitting from next time if he has to. But this is something that I was thinking might be available, was that undercut strategy. Casto able to make up about 9 positions just by being a little bit quicker for a little bit earlier.
But again, he lost that time so quickly back to Kevin King and Landon Mills. And now that he's on older tires than everybody in this pack, he's not going to be gaining any of that time back unless they have some sort of monumental incident. So he's going to be kind of relegated to where he's at now for the next little while, and having to rely on the drafting to do the work, which you can see him pulling in the back bumper, Kevin King. But look at how much he loses on corner edge there in particular, where Kevin King is able to be so aggressive at diamonding it down to the inside. And Casto will lose about 3 car lengths there through 1 and 2. Further behind, you've also got Kaczynski, Lariah, Cato, Trudell side by side. They're all on a bit of a cycle of their own, except for Kaczynski, who is the first car 1 lap down.
I definitely agree with you. He'll be losing a lot of time here. We'll see how that plays out. I'm definitely curious to see where he cycles out. He's probably going to lose 2nd place right here to 3rd place, but if he can stay inside this draft and let that draft pull him along, Casto might have been the one who snookered a very good finish here.
Time continues to gradually tick away. We are coming on up to 31 laps to go this next time by, and the action is showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon. Got about 0.3 of a second now, all separated in the top 3. It's about 1.4 seconds, if I'm doing my math right on that one, all the way back now to 4th place from there, and they've got about a pack of 4 cars, 4 position up on the racetrack. Looking around other battles you got at the moment, you've got 11th through 13th, plus Michael Johnson that are nose tail as it stands. That includes Danson, Burke, and Tom Wetmore. So that's another battle back we'll have to keep our eyes on, as everything's really much spread out. And I think at this point, this is about what we can expect our run going to look like until we get down to that checkpoint line.
Yeah, this is, we got one of the outside wall right there. That looks like Danson might have tried to avoid that, but that was a really close bit of contact. I think that was Michael Johnson again.
Right on that one. So Michael Johnson having some unfortunate struggles again. Johnson, by the way, still sitting 2 laps down. His bid to get himself back onto the lead lap and hope for a yellow flag has not worked in his favor, to put it mildly, as now he runs a good 8 seconds behind Kevin King. So this is looking to be a failed attempt for Michael Johnson. That incident that they had with this connection early on, that really did shoot him in the foot here, because had he not done that, he proved he had the pace to fight for a top 10.
He was 1 caution away from potentially being back in the battle for the win here. And that's unfortunate, because you don't like to see that sort of thing happen. Just because it feels not fun. It doesn't feel fair to if you're in his shoes for him. It just doesn't feel like that's a great way to finish a race. You feel like you had more to go out there and put out on the line. But I mean, he did show you had speed, and people won't forget that.
Hunting down the back straightaway still, as Gregory Shaw will officially be the last car to pit. He pitted way back, kind of in the lap 3rd of the 40 range. He was the only driver that could not make it. He was on a 2-stop strategy at the end. I think, again, potentially gambling on a caution flag to help him out. It did not come, so he's now going to find himself at least 1 down, possibly 2. We'll see when and where he cycles out of pit road. So we'll we'll continue to hunt things through as it stands. We are observing that fight. I believe this is going to be that one for the number 3. Sorry, this is the one for the number 5 spot between Michael Araya and William Schmidt. They're about 4 tenths of a second separate from one another as it stands. And Laraya has that problem of he's suffering big time from the older tires. It's not a problem that Casto, Cato, or George are suffering from, as they're going to be working their way back to turns 1 and 2.
Casto and Cato right now are racing. I feel like Casto's losing quite a bit of time, though. Your prediction of him losing time is happening pretty quickly right here. He is getting very much a push from Cato, and I think Cato finally getting tired. It's going to go beneath Casto. Casto's starting to lose more and more time. You can see it right there through the corner. Oh, and a caution just gets displayed.
Boy. And that is going to be big. I'm seeing Carl Pooler with a lot of damage, but it doesn't look like he was the result of this. Bradley Burke, potentially the result of this one. So that is yellow flag number 2, and it was Bradley Burke on another great save. And that's going to turn this whole race on its head.
Yeah, and this looks like there's a little bit of confusion right now in this caution, and this is definitely going to throw a wrench into everything. Figuring out what everyone's trying to figure out what happened under this caution.
I'm 99% sure it was for Bradley Burke. We're getting a look at this one here on the RaceSpotTV replay, and controversially, it was with Michael Johnson fighting the lead lap cars, getting a bit too close. Hooks the 95, spins him to the inside. Again, though, great save from the Flat Out Esports driver. Johnson, by the way, has taken responsibility for that incident. He is going to be the one now that is going to be taking the brunt end of that one. That's going to send him right down to the tail of this field. Well, we've got everybody into pit road, and Casto bumping Ross Cato on the back bumper that time by entering. So everybody is down and in for service. So we'll once again look to see who's going to take tires, who's going to take fuel only. So far, not seeing anything out of the ordinary. Landon Mills already out of his pit box. Sliding down pit road. He'll get out in front of Sean Casto, and Landon Mills will lead us out of pit road. Kevin King will fall to third after having a second slower box than both Mills and Casto, and everybody here, Josh, has taken 4 in fuel.
Yeah, we'll see them all go out 4 tires in fuel. That's a pretty easy call to make, I think, unless you have to really do a Hail Mary to try and get track position. But there's so much time left in this race that I don't think a Hail Mary like that there's just too much time for you to be able to hold off 4 tires in fuel.
We saw a couple of drivers gamble on the initial pit stop run that we had at about lap 15 under our first yellow flag of the night, and we had a couple that opted to take 2, and I think that kind of demonstrated this field why it doesn't work. Same with fuel only, because they were falling back within about 2 laps or so. It's now I think we get to the big question of how is this race going to pan out overall, as we're going to be going green here in this last quarter, less than 25 to go. Not seeing anybody coming down for a second run of the stops either.
Yeah, I don't think you need to come down unless you have any sort of damage, and see the 39 machine drop all the way back to the tail end. He needed a caution, but you didn't need to be the cause of the caution, so he's going to go all the way to the back, not get any laps back. Even if he could have gotten the wave around there, not going to get it.
Importantly, Michael Kuczynski and Gregory Schall stayed out. They were in front of the race leaders. Because of that, they are now both going to be back on to the lead lap, as well as that Carl Pooler got 1 lap back by taking the same thing. Stayed out, did not come down pit road, and because of that, they were both waved around the pace car. So that's going to be now Schall back to the lead lap, so is Kuczynski, leaving just 2 cars, laps down. Pooler 1 down, and Johnson 2 down. So with all of that kind of in the in the general feel of things. I think this is where we're really going to be seeing the aggression pick up tenfold here in this race. As we'll be looking to these last 23 laps. It is crunch time. Here from the RealSimRacing Full Throttle Cup Series at the Michigan International Speedway for race number 18. We will work to the Geico restart zone. Landon Mills gonna take us back to the green flag.
Green flag, green flag.
Working through the high banks at turn numbers 3 and 4. Thomas George in line with Michael Araya. The top four single filed out. Cody Harris going to find himself in the fray as well as he's pushing Willie Schmidt, being pushed by Coyote Trudell. 22 laps to go as Mills and King remain 1-2 for the race lead up at the sharp end of the field.
Cody Harris made a space where there wasn't one. I'm shocked that he was able to get up there. That was a very tight little hole that he was able to slide into, but that is going to help him here as we see them go all the way down the backstretch here, going in about 190 miles per hour into turn number 3.
The aggression picking on up. All these drivers are back on equal footing when it comes to tire wear. The only question now, who's got the gall to try to make something happen? That's when somebody tries to break through in this field. That outside lane still the dominant one. So you can see Ross Cato trying to fight to the bottom of Sean Casto. Casto, meanwhile, up on the top shelf. Can he track on a turn number 2 and remain clear down to the bottom? Doesn't look like it. Cato's going to pinch him up down the back straightaway. And as it stands, at number 12, he's looking like a force to be reckoned with for a potential podium.
Yeah, he is definitely there. Casto on the outside lane, going to be able to have a good run here off of corner exit. Not going to get side drafted by Cato. Kind of surprisingly, Cato's going to slide up in front of the 6 of Thomas George. That's going to work out. Going to bring a little bit of a stack up throughout the field, but they're going to get it all sorted and no issues.
Kevin King trying to set up an over-under here to the back straightaway, but he's not able to get as good of a run as he might have expected. Doesn't help when everybody's on the same tires that you are now. So the top 2 will remain separated for the most part, whereas Cato, George, Trudell are all trying to mount a charge on Sean Casto to push him further down this field. We're a bit further side by side down where Cody Harris is towards the back end of this leading pack, but not some Angel power through on the high side as well. And it's looking very organized here. I think this is the most organized restart we've had just so far. As I say that, Wagmore gets squeezed in from the middle as Thomas George was not having it.
Nolan, you know the commentators curse. You just wanted some action right there. You saying it's all filed and orderly? They're going to go wild when they hear that.
I know when I have a reputation, I figured I may as well utilize it.
As we see them 3 wide right now for about 10th position, looking almost 4 wide. It might happen here down the front stretch. You see it towards the right side of the screen. 40's actually going to stay in line behind Cody Harris, so they're going to get it sorted. Not 4 wide, but it looked like it there for a second.
All the while, the laps rapidly start to tick away. Cody Harris working to the inside of Grant Davis as Harris going to be tracking on up to the high side to get up and around the 28. Davis trying to see if he can't just salvage a top 10 after he was up there fighting for the lead for a good chunk of this race early on. But as it stands, I don't think he's even going to get up there again. Not without something big happening up at the front of this field, but the possibility always certainly there, especially when you get down to these last 15 or so.
Yeah, anything can happen here in the last 15 laps, especially since the points are going to be on the line here. So many people trying to have a really good day here to try and make their names a little bit bigger in the playoff picture as we continue to go down this backstretch. There's going to be moves that are going to be well, questionable to say the least in these last 15 laps, especially on such fresh tires. We see Kevin King go to the inside. Oh, that was easy.
That was an easy move. Worked back down to the inside line, and that's going to help these guys continue to track their way around. As the moves might look easy, I can guarantee you they're anything but. There's always so much thinking that has to go into each individual move. There's so much judgment that has to be made, and all of it is relying on the fact that you have to rely on everybody else to use good judgment around you to help you pull it off, and that's not something that is always terribly present. And case in point right there, Tom Wetmore tried to squeeze in between Trudell and Lariah, tried to force the issue. Lariah, though, stuck the nose in, said, no sir, I was here first, you can wait down on the inside for your turn. That's going to help Wetmore, though, try to mount another offensive on Kyle Trudell.
Yeah, that's definitely going to ruffle a couple of feathers there. You want to go up, get that outside line. You know if you're stuck on that inside line, you're just going to continue to fall back. It really feels like it's racing like Daytona in a lot of ways, but being out of the draft and in the unpreferred line, it certainly is one of the big tells.
Contact with the number 2 and the number 3 drivers. Castro and Mills both get put up into the outside wall. Castro still bobbling down to that bottom lane as well. Mills is going to maintain that run for second place, and Kevin King loves what he has seen in his mirror because it means he's able to just drive away with it all that much more. Side by side between Cato and Castro. That's going to get sorted out. Schmidt pulls clear of Wetmore. Here comes the ride with Hennessy and Burke working the outside. George down to the bottom as well. Everybody trying to grab whatever they can.
William Schmidt last time across the line before this last lap was 9th. Now he's all the way up to 5th, and he's trying to battle for 4th right now with Castro in front of him.
Whoa, way back to the inside as well again for Cody Harris as he's just trying to hang on to whatever that car has got left in his stance. Trudell bobbling down on the bottom lane as well. Tracks up and almost into Michael Lariah as Lariah able to just pull clear from the highest jump. But that's going to cost Trudell spots from Lariah to Burke to Wetmore to George to Davis as well as Davis ambushes from the bottom lane.
Man, that is one of the worst feelings in the world. Make a small mistake, lose a little bit of momentum at a track like this. That is a death sentence. You're going to continue to fall back. He's already fallen back to about 10th place and continuing to lose more. The hemorrhage will not stop.
San Diego, we haven't talked about the number 2 car all night long. He's going to work to the bottom of his Verizon machine. And San Nieto on a big charge. We're 4 wide again off of turn number 4. And Nieto going to back out from the bottom lane. Major powers here to take over Tom Wetmore's position in this group. Thomas George will come up to block Kyle Trudell for getting the proper nose in there. And there's Matt Danson right in the back, down the inside lane, trying to find some way through as well. Contact again between Major and George, and we're just able to survive off of turn 2. No, we don't. We're crashing on the backstretch.
Oh man, there was some hard contact behind them, and we're gonna get another yellow flag here and another restart, and I can assure you there's gonna be some hurt feelings after that one.
That was all just an according to the fact that it started when one driver got loose from the bottom, and it was on from there. And San Vieto collected Poncari. I saw was spun at the outside wall. I think Papino I just saw it in there. I know Nieto got absolutely drilled because Brandon Fetterplace got tagged from behind by Rich Woodruff, who just did not slow down in the slightest. In fact, he tried to accelerate through that and ended up causing a big wreck of his own. So here's the look. See everything condensed off of turn 2. Right there, it all comes together. Poncari and Papino get to the outside wall, and here comes Woodruff for the head of steam. Oh. Push Fetterplace right into that one, and I went and checked the speeds. Woodruff actually accelerated into that mess.
Oh man, that's not a good look.
He went from 183, sped to 184, slowed down to about 182 by the time he hit Fetterplace. He was going 176 by the time he hit Papino.
Oh, yeah. That's not a good thing to see happen out there. That you want to see people slowing because the caution was definitely out by that time.
He tried to go to the inside, and the wreck just followed him down. So, Matt Danton calls over the radio. What do we make of that, fellas? I believe he's referring to the fact that Sean Casto opted to stay out. He is the only driver to make that decision. It's a bold strategy, Con. Let's see if it pays off for him.
That, oh, boy. Casto, I commended him for his pit strategy earlier in the race, but now I got to go to the other side and say that is not the call right there. Undercut, I can get on board with, but you can't. Oh, man, that's unfortunate.
And, well, with all of that, it's worth noting there's been a huge change up when it comes to pit strategies as well. 2nd through 8th. 2 tires only. 9th on back for 4 tires. So the pit strategy continues. 2 tires versus 4 versus not pitting at all. It only continues to escalate when it comes to the pit strategy game, as it so often does in races like these. I don't think Casto's going to take the win here on this one. I think he'll certainly give these guys a run for their money. He is looking for the bottom, so thought maybe he'd come down. He's going to opt not to. We'll be going green. I believe with 8 laps left to go, no cars will be getting the wave around when we go 1 to green this time by. Casto picking the outside lane for the restart. We're 1 to green. Oh boy. So this is going to be interesting. So Nieto, Pooler, Wolsifer just leaving pit road. Fetterplace, Johnson both came down to pit road. Brandon Fetterplace was in the box for over a minute. So likely getting damages repaired for him as he got clobbered by Woodruff entering that incident and shoved into one of the spinning drivers of San Nieto. So again, 8 to go when we take that green. Lights do go out, so it is green flag racing, this time by Hedge your bets. It's going to get wild here in a hot minute.
Yeah, it's going to get quite intense. Should be going green here with 8 laps to go, and that's plenty of time for a lot of extracurricular activities to happen on track.
We work our way out of turn numbers 3 and 4. Pace cars back down and into pit road for what could be the final time. Coming to the end of caution flag number 3. Green flag's back in the arcade. Doesn't go. That's going to check the inside line up as Casto and Wetmore get a flying start from that. But critically, Tom Wetmore needing something to look on the restart that will be overturned. So Wetmore deemed a fair restart. He'll fire after Sean Casto. 3 wide, 2 rows deep in the background. We're not to major work into the bottom. I don't think we're making it back to the white flag. 4 wide again, down to the bottom, tracking up. Look out for Landon Mills. Gonna go for the chop across Michael Araya. Trying to dice this field as we hightail it back down the front straightaway. Wetmore leads his first laps of the night. Wetmore fires into the bottom. Here goes Sean Casto with the top. Matt Danson bottom for the bottom. 3 wide for second. Ross Cato trapped in the mix. And things continue to escalate. We're still 3 wide, still 2. Make that 3 rows deep, 4 rows deep. Practically the entire field at this point trying to make something happen here. 1 car bottles at the top. We're able to just survive it. Wetmore weaving left, weaving right, trying to break the draft up for the lead. We're 4 wide, back to the tri-oval, down the pit straight. 6 laps left to go. And I am still fully convinced we are going to be ending this race in a green-white checker finish. There's no way we're going to make it back with how aggressively these guys have been racing. We've already seen a couple of drivers rebound off one another. The fact that we haven't seen the yellow flag as right now is astounding. To the inside is Ross Cato going for the race lead. Wetmore going to try to power through at the top. Here comes Brandenburg. He's going to look to hook the 51. Wetmore back to the bottom. Cato blocks all the way down the tri-oval in a cross-star finish. Wetmore takes the lead back down to turn 1. The Tube Tech Chevrolet continuing to pull out in front. Ross Cato making that excellent run down for second place. Here comes Matt Danson for third. Bradley Berg will track to the outside line down the backstretch. Again, Wetmore blocking all the way to the bottom, trying to break that trap to keep Cato from getting a nose in. Cato will sneak to the inside, though, into turn 3. And here comes Landon Mills. Where did the 26 Chevrolet come from? 3 wide for the lead down the front straightaway. But it is all momentum up on top. Berg gonna shove Wetmore clear with 4 to go. Contact between Cato and Mills down through the D-oval. Ross Cato looking left, looking right. He's gonna stake to the bottom. Look at Landon Mills with a slide job up in front of Matt Danson. Just barely able to find the hole. Cato gonna tuck the line with the draft. Side by side for the race lead down to turn numbers 3 and 4. 3 laps to go. Landon Mills doing everything to take that race lead. Wetmore defending like a lion, though. Up from the outside line, he's going to clear down the front straightaway. Here comes Bradley Berg now, spoiling the party for second. Looking to be one of the most intense finishes we've had all season long in Real Sim Racing Cup Series competition, and there is still a good 5 miles of racing left. Does this field have anything for Tom Wetmore? Boy, wouldn't this be something to see Wetmore take his first win of the season and his second win overall. Sorry, his second win of the season. Took that first win way back in May. So Tom Wetmore on an absolute tear at the moment. He's going to continue to fight this one out. 2 laps to go. Mills and Bradley Berg closing in, but there's no way for Mills to go. Berg going to be tracked down on the bottom. We're crashing it off of turn number 2. The caution is out. We don't make it back. It is overtime, attempt number 1 at Michigan. Oh boy. Throw everything up in the mix. That yellow flag coming out with Cody Harris and Kevin King as it all condensed off of turn number 2. Trudell gets into Harris. They both spin to the bottom. That ends up being a yellow flag because it was a 2-car incident. And Wetmore is going to be sweating bullets right now. Tom Arado will become our 3rd driver to DNF from this race, joining Richard Woodruff and Brett Punkari as he will officially take the car behind the wall. And I can finally breathe. Well, we track our way back to the tri-oval, and we add another 2 laps on. For those that are unfamiliar with how the green-white checkered system works, the way it functions is if a caution comes out that will push us over the last lap, we add another 2 laps on. From there we go green flag, then to the white flag on the next lap, and then whatever happens, happens. If we make it back around to the white flag, this race is official, and the race will end under green. If we do not make it back before another caution comes out, then we reset, we try it again. We have 3 of these attempts. If we get to the 3rd attempt and we get another caution, the race ends under yellow. very, very rarely does it ever reach that point. Depending on the aggression we're seeing here, though, we may very well get a situation like that here in this one. I'm keeping hope, though, that we will not, as this is something else entirely. Tom Wetmore holds the lead from Mills, from Burke, from Cato, from Danson. Thomas George will round down the top 3 rows. Honestly, I think if Mills and Burke weren't so focused on trying to fight each other, they easily would have beaten by Tom Wetmore. They're not looking to work together. They're not on the same team. They have no reason to work together. They're both trying to go for race wins. They're not going to be working together here. Lights go out aboard the RC safety car. Wetmore picks the inside for the restart. Mills will be up on the outside. Your control car will take this one to the bottom. Will move from 100 laps to 105. There's been a lot of discussion under this latest yellow flag about the restart, in particular with Sean Castro giving Landon Mills a push on the restart. It was a question as to whether Castro, I believe, jumped to start. Landon Mills didn't do anything wrong. He got pushed from behind. That's been cleared up already. And I believe the call on that's going to be let it stand, and then we will... and then we'll review it after the race. So sorry, Tom Wetmore, as I've been corrected, the one that was under review. The review is going to be let it stand for now, and we'll do a more in-depth analysis of that post-race and see what's going to end up becoming of that. I believe that'll be when the league owner is going to be able to swing on down and take a look at that one as well.
That's just a safe call to make. You don't want to ruin a race like that if you're not 100% certain on the call. So something we'll let the post-race review kind of handle, and in the meantime, we got an awesome restart lined up here.
2 laps and 4 miles of racing action left. It is overtime attempt number 1. Tom Wetmore being pushed by Bradley Burke. Green flag is up in the air. Hightailing it side by side down to 1 and 2. Wetmore clear by about 3 car lengths. They're side by side for second again, not working together. Burke bobbles from the bottom. Mills clears from the top shelf. He's got a great run now to Wetmore, who will immediately go defensive on the backstretch. We crash down the backstretch as well. Hard into the inside wall for Harris. We reset, we try it again. So Cody Harris taking the head-on shot to the inside wall. That is going to end his night. And Harris not looking like a happy camper as it stands in his rig, as he's going to be sitting in a bit of disbelief, it looks like, down on the inside wall, wondering what in the world just happened. It happened with him and Sean Castell coming off of turn 2 to the back straightaway. So that'll be attempt number 2 now. And Josh, if I'm being honest, I think that was just a bunch of 4 wide action that ended up, or a bunch of 4 wide action that ended up kind of condensing together.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got 2 laps to go. Where are you gonna go? I mean, you're gonna have to make every move possible because the time has expired on making up major moves. So you're gonna have to get everything you can when you can.
I mean, just saw it right there. I mean, that's literally what it was. Just 4 wide. They get sandwiched off of turn number 2. Here's a much better look at it, though. Looking at this on the outside wall, I mean, yeah, everybody's just trying to go over the same piece of real estate, and Harris is just unfortunately the one driver that got bit for it. So 23 cars remain on the lead lap. We've only got 1 on the racetrack at the moment that is a lap down, as Eric Papineau was on the track. He just pulled it down into pit road. It's a shame we won't get as entertaining of a race like this one at the Glen next week. But hey, Watkins Glen in the National, very frequently an entertaining road course. And honestly, while it will not be as exciting as the race we're having here in Michigan, I think it's going to be the best of the road courses by far, unless you can somehow find a way to lose out to the Chicago Street Circuit. But to be fair, that in of its own was a phenomenal race as well. So Watkins Glen should be a good night. And then, of course, Daytona International Speedway. How about that for wrapping out the month of August, as we are off this next week, where I believe the Real World Cup Series is swinging down to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the road course at the Brickyard. So we'll be seeing them swing on out there. We decided not to have that on the schedule here for RSRs. That is why we're taking that 1 week break, and that is going to be the last break, as a matter of fact, that we take throughout the entire season. From here, it is going to be a straight shot, straight through every single Monday night, right through to November 6th, where we close it all out with that one race shootout at the Phoenix Raceway. Round of 16 in September, it'll be looking like Darlington, Kansas, Bristol. It's a good trio to kick off the playoffs. So it'll be an intense final run of the season. And just like the season last year, this is shaking up to be one of the most exciting seasons this league has seen yet. As we're going to work our way, we take one to green. Wetmore, again, selected the inside. He got a great drive off of the restart on that last one here, Josh, and I feel he could very well get that again and barely hang on for the win.
Yeah, he did get a good restart, and I think that was helped by the fact that everyone behind him kind of, I wouldn't say they jumped it, but they got very close in behind him. That gave him a little bit of a bump. That kind of caused us a minor stack up in that lane and caused confusion on the outside lane. Nothing illegal, nothing funny there. It was just a weird restart, and that allowed him to kind of get forward and get going while the outside lane was like, whoa, what's going on? Next thing you know, he's pulling away. But that's kind of one of those cases where that's not always going to happen on a restart like this. A little bit of discussion from everyone. Everyone looking forward to a little bit of get-togethers after the race, talking about things. But yeah, they're ready to go. Green flag racing here for our second of three potential green-white checkers here with Tom Wetmore on the inside lane.
Working off of turn number 4, Wetmore is not confident we're going to make it through to that white flag. But we'll see what happened this time by. Once again, 2 laps the distance into the Geico restart zone. Bradley Burke gives him the bumpy knees, sets him on his way, and he is already clear of Mills as we take it back to the green flag. Working with each other through turns 1 and 2. Back to the back straightaway. Mills and Bradley Burke once again alongside each other. 3 wide for second. Not for long. Mills pulls clear for second on the outside line. Goes up to cover off Cato. Making sure he can't make that run for second place. To the inside of Tom Wetmore. Here we go. Fight for the race lead is on. Wetmore on the bottom. And Mills right there with him. Side by side. Wetmore covers him off, though, as we rocket it back down. Just have to make a few more feet. Here we go. White flag's in the air. Cato's on the wall. And all of a sudden, it's carnage on the final lap as Wetmore through the Hail Mary block. It's a huge wreck. 2, 3 cars up and over and flying right down in towards turn number 1. Somebody took the NASA flight test there into the turn 1 catch fence. But on the back straightaway, it is still between George and Wetmore. Thomas George takes over the race lead now to the back straightaway. Wetmore trying to set something up to turn numbers 3 and 4. Can he get him back? Kevin King making the dive for second, but here comes Wetmore closing in on final corner, but it's not going to be closing quick enough. And Thomas George snookers the win by the skin of his teeth to win it at Michigan.
He came over the radio just a few laps ago and said, if anyone deserves to win it, it should be me, seeing as this was the last place I've won at. And there he goes, going right back to victory lane.
Oh boy.
5 years later to the day, Thomas George back in victory lane at Michigan.
What a win for Thomas George, and he had the scare of his life seeing that whole mess take over behind him. Matt Danson needs to get a job in a space program because he went flying here. Look at that, a hefty shot. I believe that was Casto that also got catapulted up into the turn 1 fencing, as that was pretty much everybody on the final lap collected over in turns 1 and 2. Meanwhile, Thomas George for Steel Horse Racing, he will burn it down and take a shock victory at the Michigan International Speedway.
What a phenomenal win. Started in 14th today, moved his way all the way up to first place. That's awesome.
That is unbelievable. It is his first race win in his 2023 campaign, and what a night it has been. He will lock his way into the round of 16. We'll take a look at your official post-race results, where it is Thomas George to take that race win. Tom Wetmore brings it home in second. Kevin King will be back in third. Gregory Shaw going to be in fourth, and Nicholas Mara going to be way back in fifth. You've got Minotzi Major in sixth, Landon Mills was seventh, Carl Pooler eighth, Mike Kuczynski ninth, and Brandon Whitaker rounds out the top 10.
Kyle Trudeau 11th, William Schmidt, Bradley Burke 13th, Sam Nieto, Grant Davis, Michael O'Reilly, and Michael Johnson. Look at him, all the way back up to 17th. Brandon Fetterplace, Ross Cato, and Richard Wolfsire round out the top 20.
21st place going to be Sean Kalis. Matt Danson will finish this race one lap down. Steve Tucker will be in 23rd. Casto in 24th. From there, we enter the drivers that did not finish this race. Casto Munda with Cody Harris, Eric Papineau, Tom Morano, Richard Woodruff, and Brett Punkari to close things out. Oh boy, what a night, as we will close things all out. We're still waiting, by the way, on the top 3 to come on over to give us a chit-chat. I think everybody's in a bit of a state of shock as to what just went down there. As you can see, just the absolute calamity right down there, bottom of the stage. I'm at a loss for words. That I think has got to be one of the most epic ways to go and get a win. And it is the driver for Steel Horse Racing that takes it home here to victory lane. Thomas George joins us in the broadcast booth, and what a way for you to get that win. You came out of left field, 14th to first in the race win, and you just barely managed to escape that last lap calamity by about an inch.
I don't even know what to say. You know what's messed up? This is the last track I got my last RSR Cup win in 2018, so 5 years to the day, basically, if I was counting.
It is absolutely poetic, and with that, you managed to officially lock yourself into the 2023 playoff campaigns after that 5-year drought. Kind of walk us through then what emotions are running through taking the race win. When did you realize you were going to have that one in the bag?
I knew we had a top 3 car at the minimum if that went green to the end, and I knew we had the speed. And when the caution came out, I knew it was going to become calamity. So the only thing I could do at that point was put myself in a position to win and just see what happens. And I just went for it. And then when I saw that Tom had no momentum going into one, I went on his right rear quarter panel, side drafted him out of one, and I had taken less fuel to tighten up the car just a little bit and just gunned it. And I just kept pulling away and away and away from him. And coming off of 4, I was screaming. I had a heart scare for the last week or so, but luckily today I got a clean bill of health there. Nothing serious. It was just a blip, and blood test came back and health is in good shape. And I just was like, you know what? There's nothing serious, so today's a win no matter what happens. But I think RFK gave me their engine because the only difference is I wore 6 instead of 17. So I can't believe it. I genuinely can't. I knew we had a fast car, but I didn't think I'd win that way.
And of course, it's all eyes forward towards that playoff run, and obviously you've found your way to the playoffs several times over the last few years here. With yourself being locked in now, is this going to change that mentality here coming on over into these last 2 races of the regular season?
I mean, it's never going to change the mentality. I'm going to try and go for the best possible position I can get. If that's a win, then it's a win. If it's whatever, if it's 3rd, 5th, whatever I can do. And some of these tracks this year, I have not had the speed to compete. Nashville is a struggle, and then there are tracks like Chicago and Atlanta, and a couple in the last month or so, or the last 4 races, where we had speed and just unfortunately got collected and wrecked. And I know I can be consistent, running well at Bristol Dirt and Auto Club and Vegas, and just with these cars the way it is, you have to be more aggressive than ever. And it changed my mindset a little bit in that front, but I still have to race the way that I know how to race. And I mean, victory's great, which is good, but I know I need to find some more speed in this car. But doing some testing the past week has helped, and I don't think we go to Indy next week on the road course. I think we're going to Watkins Glen in a couple of weeks. I'm pretty good there, and Daytona is just a crapshoot. Then after that, it's reset and test and figure out if we can get the speed back that we had earlier in the year and be consistent with it. So it's just I'm still in disbelief.
I can tell. Well, we'll let you get back down to celebrating over there. Hopefully, it will not be 5 years until you get your next race win, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again up here very, very soon. For now, congratulations on your race win tonight. Hard-earned and a shock one, but I think a well-deserved one. We'll see you in 2 weeks at the Glen.
Appreciate it, man. Maybe I can get back to my early 2014, 2015 form. I'll be better, but we'll see.
We will see indeed. That was Thomas George joining us up here for Steel Horse Racing in his Valvoline number 6 Ford Mustang. We will move on down to the number 2 finisher here tonight. It is Tom Wetmore, the racer that arguably should have won this race tonight. He was in control for a good chunk of that last run. He will end up finishing 2nd place, though. Tom, kind of walk us through these last few laps, considering you were in the fight of your life right there, even before the green-white checkers began.
Oh my gosh, man. I'm certainly hoping I can redeem this one on the taxes, because we gave that one away for sure for charity. But with that said, we made the right moves per se, but Thomas George made the better move. So I got to give it out to that 6 car. He's been in it all season long in terms of in the stuff maybe he shouldn't be in as a product of some other people's misfortune. It never fails. It seems to be him that's caught up in some accidents. So happy to see him be able to pull one into victory lane. But gosh, Nolan, man, I hate it for this Tube Tech Chevy, man. This ZL1, it was quick enough, but it wasn't quick enough to hang on till the end. And after we were holding off Landon and Bradley Burke, some of the best the series has to offer, unfortunately, the old tires gave up the ghost, and we went into 1 and 2. I watched Thomas George go to the outside, and there's only so many blocks you can throw before it just starts getting malicious, and I'm not going to do that to my competitors out here. For a win or not, hopefully we can point our way in.
Well, it's looking good so far. You've had a few solid finishes so far all season long, and I think with you sitting 16th at the moment, this 2nd place is going to help you massively, especially considering Eric Papineau did not finish this race, finished 6 laps down. He was the first one out by 3. Overall, do you reckon you'll be able to keep up this momentum into the Glen and through Daytona to be able to secure your position into the playoffs?
I can promise you we're going to try. The Glen's certainly not our strongest suit. If we're turning right, things tend to go wrong. But if we're turning left, things tend to go right. So hopefully we can survive the Glen and then come back here for the season finale and point our way in tonight here in the Tube Tech Chevy, man.
And of course, looking forward to the Glen in particular, it's, I think, one of our only the 3rd road course race on the season, but it will not be the last. Kind of what's going to be the game plan to prep for when we get back to turning right?
Yeah, getting prepped to turning right means a little bit of practice. So I was just talking to Kevin here in the room prior to coming in here to talk to you guys, and he said, hey man, practice makes perfect, and that's what it's going to take here. So fortunately, hey man, if things tend to go wrong, we do have the coverage of Robin Steele attorneys at law on the side to protect us in the case of any accidents, and I'm worried they may need to protect us a little bit from ourselves there at Watkins Glen. But seeing a good finish here at Michigan tonight makes us feel a whole lot better about a lot of the stuff coming up. We've been learning some brand new equipment, loaded in here late this evening, and came in with no practice and wasn't able to get our car through qualifying in time. So started at the back of the grid, and gosh, man, maybe that's a strategy, because this feels like some of the best like we've had all season.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck then. You've had a good run so far. We'll hope that you can continue that up. We'll be seeing you facing off at the best in the round of 16 here in about a month's time. For now, though, congratulations on that second place, and best of luck in 2 weeks at the Glen.
Thanks, Nolan. And I got to admit, before I go, man, I was really hoping to pull one down because it's my mom's 60th birthday tonight. So, yeah, I got to give a special shout out to her. So appreciate you guys making some time for me, and I'll talk to you all soon, hopefully.
Well, we'll see you all next time then. That was Tom Wetmore joining us up here, second place on the grid for Roadhouse Esports. We'll move things on down to Kevin King. He is a driver that has taken 3 wins so far in the season on just a part-time schedule, has almost dominated every race he's been a part of, but tonight it is just short of the mark. Josh, you're standing by with our number 3 finisher.
Kevin King was able to get 11th all the way up to 3rd on that last lap shenanigan. He was able to navigate his way through that, but Kevin, that was not the tail of your race. You were racing for the lead for quite a bit of it. Did you need a little bit more, or did you just need to avoid getting spun out earlier?
I think what I needed is to not get caught speeding. Apparently, I went back and looked, and I tried to give up the spot coming out of pit road, so I wasn't really going that hard. I felt like on the brakes, not any more aggressive than I normally do, especially coming out of the pits on the green flag stops. I was way more aggressive. I didn't lift at all, and I didn't get caught. But it happens. It's the risk we take when we don't just come out and go speed limit. But man, that was fun. I had a lot of fun with Landon, a lot of fun racing those guys coming to the field. Yeah, I wish I could have won the thing, but the fact that I Mickey'd that 3rd place right there was something else. Like, the seas parted. Typically I'm right in the middle of those big wrecks, so to come home 3rd, I guess I keep my top 3 streak alive except for Atlanta. And yeah, I had fun.
You normally don't like super speedway racing. I know this isn't a super speedway race, but it looked like it was racing like a super speedway race out there. Do you feel like this is just one of those races that lines up with your skill set, or do you think it was just good opportunity here today for you?
I was telling Tom that it felt like whatever reason this week and this car combo and setup, whatever, I felt really good after 10 laps. I don't know if I just handled it better. It's just my line choice or just the way I drove it. But I just felt really comfortable, not necessarily being behind people all the time and having the really tight feeling. So I was just really confident. I don't necessarily like the draft. I don't like the fact that you can have a race decided, if you're behind someone effectively, if you're not. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that you can't pass someone because you're not in the right line. But knowing that, I try to save my tires the best I could. And except for that one run, I kind of went a little crazy with it. But that last run, I felt pretty good. Had myself in control. I felt like I was going to be a lot better tire wear wise at the end. And yeah, I think you're probably right. I'm not the most enamored with super speedway racing, but I have grown to like it a little bit more. And although this is a little bit similar because of the massive draft, I do like the fact there is some skill set required to just not necessarily just go as hard as you can behind someone, but manage your tires and manage your line choices and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
And finally, are we going to see you back next week for Watkins Glen, or are you going to take the week off and watch the other people do the rights and the lefts?
Let's see. Next week is maybe. It all depends on how we feel for Michigan. We have a race tomorrow or the day after, so we'll see how that goes. I would love to go out there and try to race against Landon, who's really good. Obviously, Danson's nuts that road, and Cody Harris is nuts, and there's a few other guys that are really good too. So I think if we feel confident with our car for Coke, I could see myself giving up some testing time to turn right and left a few different times and hopefully learn some more, because I'm always about trying to learn as much as I can with the road car version of this car stuff, because I think it's going to be more important as we move forward with it. So hopefully I can. We'll see how it goes.
Well, good news. I just got told by our producer it's actually in 2 weeks, so that won't interrupt with your Coke testing.
Then I should be here. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Awesome. Well, that's Kevin King finishing third after a, in his words, I think you said a Mickey Mouse recovery on that last lap to pull off that top 3 streak and keep it going.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
That will do it then for our podium finishers here tonight. What a night of racing it has been. We got all the action at the start, died down a bit in the middle, but boy, did it ever pick up again at the end. 2 out of 3 green white checkered attempts being utilized, but at the end of the day, Thomas George takes a fairy tale win, 5 years almost to the day, able to score himself that first race win at the very same place he got his last race win. Next week, though, well, not next week, as I even just told you, 2 weeks from now, it is at Watkins Glen International, and oh boy, the Glen, long been one of my favorite road courses in all of North America. I think an underrated track. It is so fast and flowing, and it always puts on a good show in RSR.
Oh, I've commentated a couple of races in the last week alone here at Watkins Glen, and I can tell you right now, it is so fun to watch them go around this track. You see, as they're coming out of turn number 10 on screen, you saw it in the 90 on that last shot right there where they have to outbrake each other into the corner. There are so many opportunities to make passes, but it's so fast. I hear so many NASCAR drivers refer to it as the road course that races like an oval, and if that's not the truest statement of anything, I don't know what is, because it is so fast, but it is a race all about flowing and not losing focus, Nolan. I think that's going to be an awesome one to watch.
Next week, it is a 1-week break for the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series for us here on RaceSpotTV. But next week, we'll swing it right back to Thunder Valley when we get set to start to close out the regular series season. Just 2 races remain and only 2 more chances for one winner to continue to lock their way here into the round of 16 for the playoffs. For now, though, that is all for us here from RaceSpotTV. My name is Arnold Rampo, Joshua Mendoza. Huge thanks for taking that chance to jump back and double-duty race control and comment with us up here at the broadcast booth. And as always, Hugo Louise doing a fantastic job behind the cameras for us here on our production end. For now, though, we'll once again wish you all a happy rest of your week. We'll see you in 2 weeks in upstate New York.